Against all logic and all reason, the Pittsburgh Penguins took down the defending champions on Thursday night 5-3. Hunter and I are going to break down that game right after this.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
A happy Victory Friday to you and yours out there, and welcome back to the Locked On Penguins podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Patrick Damp. You can follow me across all social media platforms at synonym for wet. Joined as always by the one and only Hunter Hodes. You can follow him on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can give our show's Twitter account a follow at LO_Penguins. And you can find us on Instagram at LockedOn_Penguins. Of course, as always, we appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Don't forget that you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. And if you follow us on YouTube, make sure to hit that notification button. That way you can be among the first to know when we drop our daily Monday through Friday episodes. Before we jump into it, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Well, that sure was fun on Thursday night, wasn't it? The Penguins put up a 5-3 victory over the defending champion Florida Panthers, and I don't want to go into the weekend on a negative note because there's no reason to, but I will start here, Hunter. They got the victory, but they were severely outplayed. However, this has been an extremely tough, extremely resilient Penguins team. I got to give a shout out to Phil Bourque on the broadcast last night, who said, this team has taken punch after punch from the Florida Panthers, and they have responded each and every time. It was a phenomenal effort by the Penguins. Anytime it seemed like Florida was about to really come roaring back and tie the game, the Penguins responded in kind. And I still don't know if we can answer the question, is this team good or not? But I'll tell you this much, they're fun.
The vibes are good. They're fun to watch. That's really all that matters right now. Considering how this team has played for the last 3 years, the start to this season is such a welcome change. And if you're not smiling after almost every game at this rate, something's wrong with you, because Pat and I, we've been coming here smiling like butcher's dogs after most of these games. And it's just such a welcome change compared to last year. Just enjoy the ride, my friends. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. There will be a time where we can discuss if this is real or not. And I do think it is coming fairly soon. Pat, I usually wait till around Thanksgiving. If this team is in a spot by Thanksgiving in about a month, then we can have the conversation about, okay, this might be real and this could potentially be a playoff team. That's right around the 22 game mark, give or take. So I want to give it another month to see if they keep playing like this, because they have a lot more tests coming up. As for this game, I thought the Penguins were the much better team in the first period. They outclassed Florida. And then, of course, you knew the Panthers were going to punch back. And they did in the second period. They outplayed them in the third. But every time the Panthers either A, got right back into the game, or B, tried to be their little rats just because that's how the Panthers are, the Penguins punched right back and got so many clutch goals. Connor Dewar, for example. Ben Kindle, of course. We'll get to him a bit later. Sidney Crosby. Pat, what type of performance was that?
You cannot understate how good of a game that was by Sid. That was a vintage Crosby performance. And I'm sorry to steal your thunder, but that is the most engaged I have seen Crosby all season. And yes, the goals are nice, the points are nice, but he was doing everything that makes Sidney Crosby last night. He was physically engaged in the corners. He owned the puck. He was moving the puck incredibly well, and he drove play every single time he was on the ice. That was one of, if not his best performances to date this season.
It was definitely his best performance to me. He was also getting a bit physical. Him and Anton Lundell were having some battles along the board. Sid was not happy with him throughout that game, and you could tell he was very low-key in a way, trying to like run him into the boards at times. And the couple goals that he scored, the first one, just a beautiful one-timer on the power play. And then you can say the same thing for the second one. Bob maybe could have had it, but that was still a really well-played shot. The power play was phenomenal last night. The puck movement was sensational. That's saying something compared to last year, because last year the puck movement was really good, and it's on steroids this year, in my opinion. So Sid was great. They did benefit. They got an off night from Bobrovsky, but every time the Panthers tried to punch back, the Penguins punched them again. It was a really nice, resilient, full team performance. Yeah, you look at the underlying metrics, Pat. They were, out attempted, outshot. Panthers had more high danger chances, etc. But when push came to shove, this team battled, they fought, and they were resilient, and that's why they won this game. And we got to shout out Tristan Jarry. He was phenomenal outside of that second goal that he gave up. Had some type of scorpion type save on Brad Marchand in the third period. It's really nice seeing him play like this. I don't want to get too high, because we've seen this at times from Jarry. He'll have some good spurts back, and then he'll go back to being like a pumpkin. If you look at his splits, usually the first half of the season, he's better. Second half of the season, that's where it goes to crap. So I'm going to be paying attention for that this year. But right now, we got to shout him out. He played great, and the Penguins continue to get literally 920, 925 goaltending this year. That has been a big story of their success so far.
I also don't want to make excuses for him, because you want to be objective as best you can.
Right.
I will say this for the second goal. It was a soft one, but I also have to give Florida their flowers for that goal, because that was the same play that they scored on the prior power play with Brad Marchand, and Jarry kind of anticipated that pass was coming, because the coverage in front of him once again on that power play was not really good. So he was preparing for that cross ice, cross crease pass to Marchand, and he leaned too early, and then they took advantage of that. So it is on him, but I also have to credit Florida for, I have to credit them for noticing that he was leaning and taking advantage of it. But other than that, he was arguably one of the reasons they won that game, because the second and third period, Florida just blitzed them for 30 minutes, around that much time, if I had to guess. And he continued to make timely save after timely save. Now that we're getting to the end of this segment, it's time to have the conversation, Hunter. I'm just going to come out and say it. I don't know if Dubas listens to this show. I have my rumors and my thoughts that he might. Not the conversation we're having, though. But if you do listen to this one, Kyle, Ben Kindle is an NHL player. I don't think he's going to be an every-nighter. I don't think he should play more than 60 or 65 games. But through every game he has played, he has been one of the Penguins' best forwards. In the only way I can describe the goal he scored last night, a goal scorer's goal.
Just a sensational shot. And you look at the two goalies he has beat this year, Pat. Igor Shesterkin and Sergei Bobrovsky. Both are top 5 goaltenders on the planet. One of them I know for sure is going to the Hall of Fame, and Sergei Bobrovsky. He could not have placed that shot any better. That give and go with Tommy Novak was awesome. But I'm going to go, let's rewind to before that. Kindle's in the offensive zone. He makes an ill-advised pass to the slot area. Florida picks it off. He sticks with the play. Penguins are able to get it back, and then they have that give and go. He's able to fix his mistake with a beautiful goal past one of the 5 best goaltenders on the planet. It's stuff like that that you also can't teach. And I think I have finally arrived to the point where I am fine with them starting his ELC. It's taken me a while just because I am very protective of those first years. But I think so far in the 7 games that he has played, I think he has shown that he is an NHL-ready player. And I think he is ready for this, whether he plays 55 games, 60 plus games, 65, somewhere in that ballpark. I think he is ready. I know I said before the season I would send him back to junior just because you usually do not see this type of jump from a prospect that's 18 and especially outside of the top 10. But he continues to get better in every single game he plays. He was sensational again last night. Unless he absolutely bombs these last 2 games on the 9-game trial, and I do not expect that to happen, I think he is going to be on this team and they will start his ELC, and it's deserved. I think he is an NHL-ready player right now. I think you might see Ville Koivunen with him later on this season. I think you could see Rutger McGroarty with him later on this season. I do like the chemistry that he is starting to build, though, with Tommy Novak. But he is ready for this. Again, I'll take a little bit of an L on that one, man. I was very psyched about the pick. I knew from the jump that he was going to be a good NHL player at some point. I did not think he was going to become reality this quickly. So I'm over the moon, man. And I hope everyone out there in the fan base that did not like the pick at the time, hope you're feeling bad about it right now.
And I'll end with this when it comes to Kindle. It's the same thing that I said for Harris and Brunick, in the sense that while I don't think they are anywhere near completed products, they still have a lot of work ahead of them, a lot of improvement to make. I don't think any of that improvement will be made at the junior level. They have pretty much done everything they can do at juniors. They've proven they can hang at the NHL level. And yes, we all want our brand new shiny toy to be here all the time, and we always want to play with it. But occasionally, them having a couple nights off is not the end of the world. We don't want to burn them out. We don't want to stunt their growth. So if you keep them around, they get to learn from some absolutely legendary future Hall of Famers. They get the NHL training schedule. They get the NHL resources, and that's only going to help them in their long-term development, even if it means they only play 55, 60, 65 games. So at this point, I think it would pretty much be malpractice to send one or both of them back to the junior level. But huge win for the Penguins.
Process that where they're playing 3 games and they're scratched. And I think you're going to keep seeing that throughout the season, especially if both stay up. And I do think at this point they are both going to stay here. I've kind of known for about a week that Brunick was probably going to, just based on my prediction. I think I am now there with Ben Kindle that he is going to stay up. And when you look at the rookie class for this year, the 2025 NHL draft rookie class, only Matthew Schaefer is outplaying Ben Kindle right now. And that's no disrespect to Ben Kindle. Schaefer is an absolute freak of a defenseman, but Kindle's outplaying Michael Misa, in my opinion, by a mile so far. This is going to be a really good NHL player once he especially keeps developing power. Once he's like 20, for example, 21, he's already this good now. Imagine what he's going to be in a few years, guys.
If the development continues, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but the early returns are very good. Huge win for the Penguins, but they will be back at it this weekend on Saturday night when the Ohio rival Columbus Blue Jackets come to town. We're going to get you ready for that game when we come back right after this. Before we do that, though, we've got a couple of sponsors to tell you about, and the first one is Rougiet. Let's be real, making excuses doesn't solve anything, and we have all heard those excuses before. It's just stress, I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that is where Rougiet comes in. Rougiet.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. They make it very easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, so you avoid those awkward waiting rooms and awkward doctor visits where you're not making eye contact and you're a little bit embarrassed, so you don't got to worry about that. If prescribed, your treatment ships directly to your door discreetly, and the process is fast, simple, and private, all handled by real doctors. It's all about confidence and getting back to the moments that matter. So visit rugiet.com/lockedonnhl to get 15% off your first order. One more time, that's rugiet.com/lockedonnhl. And don't forget to use our code LOCKEDONNHL so they know that we sent you. Rugiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Our next sponsor, though, is Game Time. Hockey season, it's officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is be inside PPG Paints Arena and cheer on Sidney Crosby and his kids, Ben Kindle and Harrison Brunick. That is where Game Time comes in. The app gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast and stress-free. Game Time, been a big fan of it for a while. I have been scanning it all day today, actually, because I want to go see Sabrina Carpenter. Go ahead, shake your head, Hunter. I don't care. It's going to be a damn fun show, so I don't need your judgment right now. But thing I love about Game Time, I've said it before, it's the upfront pricing. We all know it. We've all seen it. You pick tickets, you go to checkout, and suddenly you're paying a whole hell of a lot more than what you thought you were going to be paying. Nobody likes that. Game Time gets rid of that with upfront pricing. Zone deals, they're also a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. And right now, you can get NHL tickets for as low as $25. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. Back here on the Friday edition of Victory Friday edition of Locked On Penguins, as the Penguins are going to look to make it 5 wins in a row on Saturday night when they not only face the Columbus Blue Jackets, but induct their first Penguins Hall of Fame class in over a decade. We have talked that one to death, though. That's going to be a lot of fun. Be on the lookout for that. But not going to be an easy night. We love to talk about how the Columbus Blue Jackets are the little brother, but they're doing pretty well to start. They've beat some formidable teams. Their young talent is really starting to turn a corner. And this is going to be a fast, hard to play against Columbus team led by Kirill Marchenko right now with 7 points, 5 goals in 6 games. They've also got Voronkov, who's got 3 and 3 for 6 points. Boone Jenner, a big-time thorn in the Penguins' side, who has got 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points in 6 games. So, Hunter, this is not going to be the type of Columbus team we're used to seeing. They're going to have to earn one on Saturday night.
First off, it's crazy that Boone Jenner has been on this team since I was a sophomore or junior in high school. I'm about to be 28 in 3 weeks, so I just had to get that out of the way. Like, he's been there forever at this rate. But you also got Adam Fantilli. He's off to a great start. 2 goals, 5 points in 6 games. He's going to be really good in this league for a long time. I'm always excited to get the chance to see him play against the Penguins. You have Charlie Coyle, who's off to a decent start. Zach Werenski, who was coming off an all-pro season last year, already has 4 points in 6 games. I like this Jackets team heading into this season. I think they can still push for a playoff spot. I just still think they need another big weapon in their top 6. You know, they still have Sean Monahan centering the top line with Marchenko and Voronkov. They got Jenner with Fantilli and Kent Johnson, who I also do like on the second line. But I do think they're one more top 6 forward short from being a bona fide playoff team. Their bottom 6, I still don't think is that bad. I like Cole Sillinger as a third liner. Charlie Coyle has been in the league for a while. Defensively, Zach Werenski and Matachuk on the top pair. And Matachuk, I do think is going to be a player for quite a while. In this league, they got Dante Fabro back with Eric Goodbranson. I do think their bottom 2 pairings can definitely be exposed a little bit. I'm not as high on someone like Provorov or Severson anymore, and same thing with Goodbranson. So I know the Penguins still have, at least some defensive issues, even though these last 4 games, they've been fairly solid in all those categories. Though, again, the Panthers, they were carrying the play for a lot of those games, and Jari was great. But still, I think that's an area where the Penguins can really exploit. It's those bottom two pairings on Columbus. And I will say, even though Elvis Merzlikins is off to a good start, 3 games played, 927 save percentage, 2.69 goals against average. I do think, this is a goalie that can be had. He has struggled at times throughout his career against the Penguins. So I do think that's also an area where the Penguins can take advantage as well. When you look at some of the numbers for this game, Penguins are 12-1-3 against the Blue Jackets dating back to December of 2019. They're also 22-3-4 in their last 29 games overall against Columbus dating back to February of 2017. Hell, here in Pittsburgh, going back to 2000-2001, the Penguins are 24-4-1 just in Pittsburgh against the Blue Jackets. This has been a rivalry that's been dominated by the Penguins throughout its history. We'll see if it can continue, but this is still going to be a good test with the young talent that Columbus can throw at them, how fast they are. And again, the start that Merzlikins is off to, but I still think this is a goalie that can be had. I think Artur Shilov is going to start if they continue this rotation, but we'll still have to see. I just want them to put on a show for the Hall of Fame inductees, Pat. I mean, come on. Like that's reason enough to come to this game.
And to your point about goaltending, it does look like they will get Merzlikins tomorrow night because Jet Greaves is starting tonight when the Blue Jackets take on the Washington Capitals. So it's a back-to-back Metro weekend for the Blue Jackets. But the thing I will say is I'm mostly on your side about I'm a little bit skeptical of Elvis Merzlikins, but where we are in this season right now with how early it is, you just got to go with what's been happening. And he has had a pretty solid start. The other side of that coin is you're not going to get a Sergei Bobrovsky off night every night when you play teams with good goaltending. So for the Penguins, this is going to have to be the kind of game where you have to earn every goal. You're going to have to go to the net. You're going to have to get in front of Merzlikins. You're going to have to battle in front to get positioning, look for rebounds, look for screens and tips, because Merzlikins is very much, at least early, the kind of goalie where if he sees it, he's probably going to stop it unless it's a 100%er kind of shot. So for the Penguins, they have to stick to the structure that they have been playing with for the last few games. They've got to continue to be good on the forecheck. They got to continue to have that puck support, and then they got to win the battle in front of the net. So big challenge for them, but really good opportunity for them to string yet another win together here against Columbus.
Right. And also the Penguins will have another advantage in this game, Pat. You hinted at it. The Blue Jackets play tonight at home, and then they will travel to Pittsburgh for the second half of a back-to-back. And yeah, I get it, people. Columbus and Pittsburgh, it's not that far of a drive, but this is still, you finish the game against Washington, you have to travel to Pittsburgh, and then you play less than 24 hours later. A back-to-back with travel is pretty hard. So the Penguins, they're going to be well rested for this game. So that's another advantage that they will have in this one to try and get to 7-2 going into next week's games, where you play the St. Louis Blues that were a playoff team last year. After that, you have your first back-to-back with travel. You play the Flyers, and then you play some other teams coming up. The Maple Leafs are coming up. The Winnipeg Jets are coming up. The Capitals in Pittsburgh is coming up pretty soon. So schedule's about to get pretty hard here, but again, you definitely have an advantage where you're getting a team that plays tonight, less than 24 hours later, a back-to-back with travel. You'll be well rested. You should see, especially when you look at the effort from the last 2 periods against Florida, the Penguins are going to raise that effort level by quite a bit, in my opinion, for this game. Again, I love the resiliency. I love the compete level against the Panthers. I love they were able to punch back even during those 2 periods where they were outplayed. But I do think you're going to see all of that get raised now that they'll have had a day to recover.
And we said it going into the Panthers game, and that streak continues. This is where we're going to find out a whole heck of a lot about this Penguins team, because you can only play the games in front of you. Like I said yesterday, it's not a restaurant. You can't look at the waiter and say, sorry, this schedule is not cooked well enough. Please take it back. You can only win the games in front of you, but the games in front of them over the next couple of weeks are really going to show us if the Penguins are taking advantage of lesser competition, or if the Penguins are elevating themselves to a level that nobody expected them to be at. So Penguins, Blue Jackets, PPG Paints Arena, 7 o'clock on Saturday night. You can catch the game on Sportsnet Pittsburgh. If you're not in the building, Hunter and I will obviously have a recap of this game on Monday, as well as getting you ready for the rest of the week ahead. But that doesn't mean that we're done with this episode. It's Friday, and that means we want to hear from all of you in another edition of Fan Take Friday, which we will get to when we come back right after this. Before we do that, though, we got to tell you about one more sponsor, and that is FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. That's right, pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel, it makes watching football so much more exciting, especially when you've got a little something riding on the action. Say, I don't know, during Sunday night football this weekend when the Steelers and the Packers are playing. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Whether you're a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience that much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Back here on the Friday edition of Locked On Penguins, I'm Patrick Damp, right alongside Hunter Hodes. And it's Fan Take Friday, ladies and gentlemen, which means we're opening up our little mailbag that we do every week on Friday, answering your questions, reacting to your hot takes and everything in between. And that everything in between, Hunter, includes a poll that we put up on YouTube, which is a new part of Fan Take Friday that you guys really seem to like. So we're going to keep doing it. This week's poll, pretty easy. Penguins are 6-2, but are they good? And with 120 votes, 68% of respondents say they're good, actually, while 33% say mine's not changed, they're still mid. So pretty overwhelming response there from the community that they think this team is good, actually. And we talked about that. We're going to see. But we will start in that vein with a longtime Fan Take Friday respondent at Pen68 on YouTube says, it has been a very small sample size so far, but I like what I'm seeing from this team. I would like to see more games before I make the determination if this could be a playoff team or not. But I will say the team is showing to be very scrappy and they are going to compete no matter who they're playing against. I don't have much to add to that one. That's pretty spot on.
100%. I mean, this team is a blast to watch. They play sound, structured hockey. You're not seeing a lot of the odd man rushes or the chances off the rush that you saw countless times a game these last few seasons. Dan Muse has done a great job cleaning those up. The offensive pressure is also a lot of fun to watch once it gets kicked into high gear. The power play is a lot of fun to watch. You could tell that this team really needed a change behind the bench. And again, Pat, I'm not trying to throw shade at Mike Sullivan or anything like that. But you could tell that it was time for a new voice, and the players are fully bought in to what Dan Muse and his staff are telling them, and the results speak for themselves so far. There was another comment, if I can find it here, from Matt Wallach, who says, need a third option of it's still too early, but like the way it's going. And that is where I fall under as well. I think it is too early to say whether this team is actually good. I want to see how this team looks going into the Thanksgiving break. If you can get some results over the next month against some bona fide playoff teams, especially teams that you're going to be playing against over the next couple of weeks, then we might be able to push the button of, Peter Griffin meme Pat of, oh, hello, we're back department. I'd like to file a claim, because I'll say it, people. Pat was trying to send me that last night. His hand is over the button. We're not going to push it yet, guys. We got to wait another few weeks before we can determine if they are back or not. But I'm willing to see if they are in a playoff spot by Thanksgiving. I might be saying at that point, okay, then this actually could be a playoff team this year. But Pat, I do think you forgot that potential third option, as Matt said. But hey, for the purposes of the show, I'm fine that you did too.
The hand is hovering over the "we're back" button. I'm not hitting it yet, but I'm getting close. But we got some time to go before that. But something you said in that I do think is a good place to go next, and this is from Christopher Hart on YouTube. Still a bit early, but the real question is, Should we have gotten rid of Sully years ago, considering the Rangers are currently playing like the Penguins of the last 3 years? Here's where I'm going to come down on this. And I think I've said it on the show before, but in case I haven't, I think the way you can kind of retcon this and make it work is when Jim Rutherford resigned at the end of that season. If you would have gotten rid of Mike Sullivan then and kind of hit that soft reset button at the end of Rutherford, I think that would have probably made it a little bit more feasible and a little bit more workable. I also want to address that last part of the Rangers are currently playing like the Penguins of the last 3 years. I said this to one of my beer league teammates earlier this week, coincidentally, while we were having beers. So the name was very apt. But Mike Sullivan, in my opinion, at this point needs to pull a Bill Parcells and tell whether it was Kyle Dubas or now Chris Drury in New York. If you want me to cook dinner, you need to let me do the grocery shopping too, because you look at a lot of the rosters he's had over the past few years, and it's like, okay, you know the coach that you have. You should probably give him some of the players to play said system, because you look at the Rangers right now, and it's the inverse of what he had in Pittsburgh. He had players who were pretty good, couldn't get goaltending. Now he's in with the Rangers, pretty good goaltending. The team can't score.
But you know what's funny about that is that when you look at the players outside of the goalie, it's the same type of roster that he had last year and then the season prior. So it's like, no wonder they can't score. And you're also seeing the same things pop up that popped up with the Penguins these last few years. It's like, yeah, I've seen that before. The meme, Pat, first time, like that's kind of what we're seeing here now with the Rangers, but we don't want to spend too much more time on that. This next one comes from Fred. The young guys are definitely making it exciting. The whole team looks like they are having fun. I love Sully, but Muse has been like a breath of fresh air. New voice was needed. Sid and Gino are still straight up dogs. I 100% agree with all of that. You can very much tell that they needed a fresh voice. Again, no shade to Sully, but it was needed. And yeah, Sid, very much a vintage performance. He tied the franchise record with Mary Lemieux, Pat, 497 multi-point games. He is going to set that record potentially on Saturday against the Blue Jackets. And he is also now 2 points away from 1,700 for his career. I did think Gino was fairly good last night too. So I'm glad we had that take. If I can get to one more here, there's a couple of we'll save that one actually for a bit later. I like that we have so many of these this week because we can save some of these for a bit later on in this season. This is a fun hot take. Well, part of a hot take. This comes from G Tots, who always puts some good takes here. The Penguins' current goalie group will have more shutouts than give up a goal on the first 3 shots this year. Okay, I like that one after what we saw last year. TBD. Bonus hot take from mine, anti-Toronto media fan base. Sidney Crosby will be a Penguin longer than Austin Matthews or Willie Nylander is a Toronto Maple Leaf. I really don't think that's that much of a hot take, but I do think the first one, I like that he put that out there, but the second one, I don't think is that hot of a take.
Yeah, that one that first one we got to kind of let the season play out. I think it's possible the way the Penguins have been playing lately, but at the same time, there might also just be hey, they don't get as many shutouts, they play well, and maybe there's a couple games here and there where they don't have the best start. So we'll see. But I want to say this about the Toronto one. I don't think that's that far-fetched. But it's dependent upon what they do over the next couple of years, because at some point you've replaced a bunch of coaches, you've replaced a bunch of managers, and who does that leave? And I know I know that I have my conflicts or whatever you want to call it with some of the guys at SDP, but I still love them. I still listen to them. I still subscribe. But Dangle made a point a while ago that I keep coming back to. It relates to an earlier hot take from our show here as well. The best teams that win the Stanley Cup, their biggest players have that dog in them. When the games get bigger, they turn into psychopaths. And outside of Willie Nylander, a lot of the players who have been in and out of Toronto the last decade, they kind of shrink when the game gets bigger. And I love Austin Matthews. I think he's going to go down as one of the greatest American players of all time, and he's one of the best goal scorers we've ever seen. But do you really think, like we saw last night against the Panthers, do you think he's jumping into a scrum when someone hits his line mate? Probably not. And if things don't go well in Toronto, the only people left to blame are the guys wearing the sweaters.
Well, don't tell that to Leafs fans. They'll still blame anyone else except those top players. But, that's a different discussion for a different day. One more here, Pat, before we wrap up. I promise we'll get to some of these other ones a bit later on in the season. This one comes from John, and John says, I think what they have done is create a different culture on the team. I like what someone said, that they're creating competition and allowing their younger players to play. Players are getting the playing not because of their salary or because of their veteran status, but because they are the best players on the roster. I think that's what this team has done. And then you're 100% right. They're giving opportunities to younger players. Even some of the veterans that are on the team, they're still being pushed for their jobs. There's other players in Wilkes-Barre that are going to be coming up at some point later on this season. The culture, you can definitely tell, is different so far. So I totally agree with that take.
I also come back to something I've said for a while. They finally, for the first time in a long time, have younger players who are viable. They have had a ton of quad A guys over the past 5 to 6 years who we want them to come up and play because they're young, but they're probably not going to be significant contributors. They're just going to be run-of-the-mill guys. Now they actually have some young talent that can challenge for spots, that can challenge veterans. So that in itself has definitely changed the culture. And I think last thing I'll say on it is it's a different, I'm going to make a big comparison here, but stay with me. It's like when Mike Johnston came in versus now when Dan Muse came in. You could kind of tell when Johnston came in all those years ago, the veterans and the stars were kind of like, no, you're a junior coach. We don't like you. And whatever the first impression was, it wasn't good. With Muse, they're in. They respect him. They like what he has to say. They like what he's selling, and they're bought in. So that in itself has been a huge, huge difference for this team. But Hunter, unless you've got anything else to add, I think that's going to do it for our Friday episode of the Locked On Penguins podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us here on a Victory Friday. Hunter and I will be back on Monday with a new episode to recap the Columbus game as well as get you ready for the week ahead. But for now, for Hunter Hodes, I am Patrick Damp. Thank you once again, and we will be back on Monday.